Well, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing out there this morning? That's it? That's all I've got? Let me hear you make some noise. How's everybody doing this morning? There we go. All right, loudest person right there. I'm going to give a T-shirt right there, Mike. There you go. All right. Who wants a T-shirt? Who wants a T-shirt? Everyone stand up. Everybody get up. Get up. Everybody up. Everybody up out of their seats. Come on. Everybody stand up. All right. There we go. All right. Right there. There we go. Oh. All right. I've got one more. Come on. Who wants one? Make some noise. I want the loudest person out there. Loudest person. Come on. Let me hear you. I'm hearing it in the back. I'm hearing it over here. All right. I'm going all the way back. We're going back. There we go. All right. So before we get started, when I get everyone ready, let's get everyone stand up just for 1 minute. Everybody just stand up. Out of their seats, everyone stand up. All right, everyone stand up. Get ready to stretch because I know you'll be seated for a little bit of this. Now, someone behind you or in front of you, if you haven't met them, introduce themselves to you. Introduce one another. Find somebody next to you that you haven't met before. Say hello, say who you are, because we're going to get started. Make sure you at least have 3 new introductions. 3 new introductions of somebody new that you haven't met before. Awesome job, all right. All right, I'm gonna give away one more shirt to the loudest person. One more person. Who wants a shirt? Come on, let me hear you. All right, I'm here on this side. How about over here? How about this side? How about this side? All right, here we go. Oh, nice catch, nice catch. All right, I think we're ready to start things off. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please make some noise for Dr. Patrick Leary.
All right. Everyone hear me all right? Thumbs up? All right, well, Luke, let's give it up for Luke. Luke Renshin from Luke Renshin Entertainment. Luke will be serving as our entertainment, and he is certainly one of the premier DJs in the Northeast, so we're certainly fortunate to have him here today. Wow, this is a great audience. It's a very exciting day for our program and for our university, so thank you for being here this morning. It's great to have such a wonderful mix of stakeholders in the audience. We have high school students, so we have 4 high schools represented today on campus, so will you please all stand up? All right, we have Westerly High School, Milford High School, Tolman, and North Kingston, so thank you all for being here. We also have some special guests from IVM. Our IVM Region 1 members are here today. They're hosting their Region 1 meeting in collaboration with us, so we're really fortunate to have them here as well. IVM, again, really excited to have them here because Matt Campbell, he will be hosting the elevator pitch. How many of you out there are participating in the elevator pitch competition today? Come on now. All right, so we're kicking things off, and I'm fortunate enough to kick things off today. But I do want to give a special shout out because this event would not happen if it weren't for a special group of young men and women. What I really love about my involvement with this event over the past 5 years is the fact that this is entirely run by students. It's planned and it's run by students. And that's something that I love about this institution is providing that valuable hands-on experience. So you'll get to meet the students throughout the day, but I really want to thank them sincerely for all the hard work that they put in to today. And you know, us faculty, I think, and I've been doing this for 10 years now, it's why we do it, to see our students shine, and this is the moment in which they are. So I thank you to all the Students Planning Committee. I also want to thank our student ambassadors who, you'll see they're credentialed today and dressed nice, which is great. So again, this is all about the students, and the original idea for this event was exactly what is transforming in front of us, bringing industry together with our students. So I'm proud for this day. I'm really looking forward to it. We are really fortunate to have a wonderful lineup of speakers from industry, starting with Jennifer Ferron. You'll hear from Jennifer in just a moment. Following our keynote, we have a professional panel that will close out our morning session. We'll then lead into our elevator pitch competition, which will take place at 11:30 here in Schneider. And then following our elevator pitch will be our closing afternoon session, which will include an alumni panel and our closing keynote speaker. So really thrilled for the day, really thrilled to have you here. Again, I'd really like to thank Luke for being here today. I'd really like to thank all of our sponsors, including IAVM. We also have IAEE, PCMA, ILEA. I know there's a lot of acronyms here, and they're too wordy for me to spit them out right now. We also have Flick Hospitality Group, which is also a sponsor. So this event would not happen with those individuals and those professional associations as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my friend and colleague, Dr. Elizabeth Van Patten. Elizabeth will be introducing our keynote speaker for the day.
Good morning. How is everyone today? Fabulous. I'm fantastic. Today I am pleased to introduce our morning keynote speaker, Ms. Jennifer Ferron. Jen is the Chief Marketing Officer for Kraft Sports and Entertainment. Owned by the Kraft family, Kraft Sports and Entertainment owns and operates the New England Patriots, the New England Revolution, Boston Uprising, Gillette Stadium, and Patriot Place in Foxborough, Massachusetts. In her 21st season with the organization, Jen is ultimately charged with overseeing customer marketing, fan acquisition, media and community relations, sponsor fulfillment, advertising, promotions, special events, and the Patriots Hall of Fame. In addition, she has played key roles in special projects and new business initiatives, including fan experience and amenity upgrades at Gillette Stadium, advanced team planning for the Patriots' 8 Super Bowl appearances, fan development for Patriots training camp, media planning for the FIFA Women's World Cup, and CONCACAF Gold Cup. It has been an honor and distinct privilege to have known Jen for the last 18 years. When I began in this industry at 17 years old, I knew I had a passion and I knew what I wanted out of a career. All I needed was an opportunity. Jen Ferron gave me that opportunity, and I have never once taken it for granted. During the past 18 years, she has been a mentor and advisor to not only me, but to countless other women who have passed through the walls of Gillette Stadium and beyond. Please help me welcome to the stage my mentor and friend, Jen Ferron.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? So first of all, Liz, thank you so much. That was such a wonderful introduction. As Liz says, we've known each other for 18 years now, and I think that one of the things that I find so rewarding in the job that I have is that I get to meet so many people that are just, enthralled with being part of the sports and entertainment business. And so it's really a great opportunity to be here today and talk to all of you. And I'm really fascinated by the fact that we have high school students here that are joining us today, because I think it is so unique of an opportunity to really start to think about your future at this point in your educational endeavors, and really to maybe make a pivot, as you transfer on and go to college, and to think about what you really want to do and combine your passion with a future job opportunity. So Liz did an amazing job of introducing me. Oh, wait, hold on, sorry. We timed out here. What's that? Kels, I need your password. Sorry, hold on one second. Thanks, honey. Okay, we're good. No, we're not. Where did, Daryl, we need my laptop to talk. There you go. Okay. So Liz did an amazing job of introducing me, but I figured I'd just give a little bit more background. Right now, I am the Chief Marketing Officer for the Kraft Sports and Entertainment Group. And just to give some perspective there, the Kraft family owns a variety of different diverse companies. They're in real estate, they're in paper and packaging, they're in the recycling business, and they own venues and sports teams. And so the division that I oversee is a division that's now called Kraft Sports and Entertainment. And so I've been there for 21 years. I am very fortunate to have been with the organization for that long and to have seen our company and our business grow. When I joined the company originally in 1997, I was working for the New England Revolution for our professional soccer team, and I know we have an alumni that'll be here later this afternoon, Dave Capopiano, who's our director of marketing for the New England Revolution. And I was in a really small department, and we had just moved into Gillette Stadium, or what was Foxborough Stadium at the time, not that long ago. And to see where we've gone and how we've grown over 21 years is pretty incredible, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. But I'm fortunate enough, I have two wonderful children. I'm married with an 11-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, so I get to share my passion, my lifestyle, my experiences with two kids that are very sports-oriented, but also very academic, and they have a lot of different passions and a lot of different choices that they can make. I originally, when I joined the organization, I said I worked for the New England Revolution. I've had a couple of different roles. I've been the director of marketing, I've been the vice president of marketing operations, the SVP of marketing and branding. And in my role now, I really have the great fortune of working with so many experts, so many technical experts. I like to say to my staff all the time that I can't do my job without them. I don't know as much about media relations and crisis communications as our vice president of media relations. I can't, I never will. So I really need to rely on an extraordinary team to help guide what we do every day for the organization. Before working for the Kraft Sports and Entertainment Company, I was with Arnold Public Relations. It's a large ad agency in the city of Boston. I was there for about 3.5 years, and I was fortunate enough to have an internship there just prior to graduating from Boston College with a communications degree. So Liz mentioned, Kraft Sports and Entertainment, as I said, we are the entertainment and sports division of the Kraft Group and the Kraft properties. And the Krafts have been doing this for over 25 years. They originally bought what was Foxborough Stadium before owning the New England Patriots. And in doing so, they owned the venue and they owned sort of the asset that was really important to own, because in events and sort of venue management, the team isn't really what drives revenue. The team is sort of the funnel to get you there. But at the time, the entity that owned the New England Patriots had thought about moving the Patriots out of the state. There was a lease agreement that allowed the Patriots to stay in Foxborough, and that's what ultimately led the Kraft family to be able to buy the New England Patriots and combine the New England Patriots and what is now Gillette Stadium into one oversight. We are the owner-operators. We control everything that happens at Gillette Stadium. We are our own security company. We are our own parking company. We are our own food and beverage company. Everything that happens when you come to our venue happens from somebody that is a colleague of mine that we work with on a daily basis, which provides, I think, an extraordinary opportunity when you're talking about special events and the sports industry to really control the experience. And I think it's one of the things that is really unique in what we do, but makes us more of a united team as we approach our daily objectives. What I want to show you before I jump to this next video is we own the Patriots, we own the Revolution. Those are probably brands that you're very familiar with. The Boston Uprising is a relatively new brand. The Overwatch League started just last year. I'm going to do a case study on the Boston Uprising to tell you a little bit about how we got started in the business and what's been happening over the last 15 months. And then Gillette Stadium and Patriot Place are the venues that we operate. I have a quick video that I want to show you, and I think what's unique about it is it sort of takes you through a 10-day period. It's from 2015, but it takes you through a 10-day period where Gillette Stadium was host to a number of events. We started with the Patriots preseason game, which was on a Thursday night. We then had a New England Revolution soccer game on Saturday. The unique thing going into that soccer game, however, was that we were going to bookend that a couple of days later with an international soccer match. And in order to do that, international soccer matches at Gillette Stadium can only happen on grass, and we have an artificial surface. So following the Patriots game on Thursday night, we loaded grass into the stadium. The New England Revolution played their game on grass on Saturday. We then prepared and got ready for an international soccer match on a Tuesday. The New England Patriots in 2015 had just come off of a Super Bowl victory, so they were opening at home on Thursday night as the Super Bowl champions, which is a very big deal, a big televised event for the nation. And so we were hosting activities and concerts and all kinds of on-field presentations that we needed to get ready for. So there were stages that were loaded in the week before, that were in seating areas that we had to readjust manifests for. We played that Patriots game, and then upon the completion of that game, we got ready for a One Direction concert that Saturday. So in a 10-day window, those events happened at Gillette Stadium, which I think just speaks to how extraordinary our venue is, how connected we are, how much we need to work together as owner-operators, event planners, sports specialists, to make the experience that our customers and ticket holders have. So I'll walk you through that video real quickly. One Direction show, and then everybody so again, just people ask a lot, like, what do you do? How does your organization work? But this is just, I think, a really great example of what happens behind the scenes, and some of the opportunities that, that all of you that are thinking about being or majoring in sports and entertainment and event management, this is the type of thing that you'll get to look forward to. So some of the core accountabilities, Liz listed some of them when she did the intro, and I think that I won't belabor this slide, but I think it's just a good opportunity to talk a little bit about sort of some key areas. So when you think about Chief Marketing Officer, I think it means a lot of different things to different companies, and it depends on, I think, how companies are structured. For the Kraft Sports and Entertainment Group, my role is really all of the fan touch points. Anything that we're doing where we're engaging and interacting with a fan. That can be a local fan, it can be a ticket holder, it can be somebody who's never stepped foot in Gillette Stadium before. It could be a displaced fan somewhere in the United States, it could be a displaced fan somewhere across the globe. And so what we work on a daily basis is trying to make those connections, fan acquisition, retention, all of the customer marketing touch points fall under me. We also handle all of the media relations, community relations, anything that we're doing from an outreach effort and getting into the community at a really grassroots level. I oversee all of our sponsor fulfillment, which really means from sort of contract conception, we're talking to a client and putting together a pitch, standing in front of somebody, getting a proposal, move to the contract, and then overseeing that through the life of the partnership. I also oversee all of our special events, so anything that we're doing for the team or for the teams, it falls under me. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we do on a daily basis, but this is sort of a capsule of what my role as the CMO for Kraft Sports and Entertainment means today. I'm often asked, what do you do on a daily basis? And there are many times I go home at the end of the night and think I've accomplished absolutely nothing. And but I know that's not true. I know that there's something that we've done in the day. But I think for me in my role, I'm not necessarily the content producer. I'm not the one who's putting together a pitch deck. I'm not the one who is sort of generating. I'm trying to lead the vision. I'm trying to bring everybody together and help them move stuff forward. And so in the course of a day, my job is a lot of project management. It's a lot of time management. It's workflows. It's communication channels. It's making sure that we are staying on track and driving business forward. It's cross-collaboration, it's feedback, it's communication. And I think that those are things that sometimes we take for granted when we think about, what did we accomplish today? It's nice to have a task, it's nice to be in a role where you have an assignment and there's a deadline and you feel like you've finished that and you've moved on to the next project. But I think for what we do and the number of sports properties that we oversee, the venue itself, the fact that we control, as I said, everything that's happening from an operating standpoint, we never stop. What we do on a daily basis never feels as if it has an end. We'll get through a game, and then we are preparing for the next, and the next, and the next. And we're thinking years ahead, and we're looking at bringing other activities and events to our properties. We've been fortunate enough in the past to host, NCAA tournaments and the NHL Winter Classic and World Cup matches. And so we actually we bid on the 2026 World Cups, and we're hoping that Foxborough and Gillette Stadium will be selected as a venue for some of those matches. And so to think in 2018 that we're projecting out and needing to put bid proposals and stuff together for something that's 8 years away, that's what we do on a daily basis, and that's what we rely on the team for. And then I thought I'd also just reference some of the kind of the core competencies that are required to be in a role like mine. I think that there are a number of things that we do and how we interact with one another that are really critical for the success of a business or the success of any business. And so, organization is really a key driver for me. Being decisive. We don't have a lot of time to overanalyze things and we need to make decisions that are quick and insightful. And well-rounded and well-grounded in analytics and data. But once we've made the decision, we need to move on it. And we need to get very tactical, and we need to put things into place as quickly as we can. And we need to be very production-oriented, and we need to think about what we want to do long-term. We need to be strategic. I need to be authoritative, right? If I'm wishy-washy and people don't think I have a point of view or a vision for where we want to go, I don't think I'll be a successful leader in my role. So these are just a couple things that Liz and I had talked about as we were preparing for the session that I thought I would cover. And then she really asked me to talk a little bit about some industry trends, like what's happening in sports today? What are people talking about? Buzzwords in the past have been everything from fan engagement and things like that. So what are their technology? And so when I think about sports today and really kind of what's happening and what people are talking about, and when you're looking at conferences, what are some of the dialogues and things to pay attention to? Media rights is one that I think is really front and center. Typically and traditionally, media has been, CBS, NBC, Fox, ABC, your traditional network platforms. And now there's all of this over-the-top programming that's coming out. The fact that the National Football League is streaming their Thursday night games on Amazon. What does that mean? What does that mean for the original broadcast partners? How does Amazon have a place in that? The Overwatch League itself, right? Their broadcast partnership was a 2-year, $90 million deal that they signed with Twitch. Twitch is a streaming platform. Many of the people in our office had never even heard of Twitch. And so what does the media landscape look like, years out? I can't answer that. I don't know. But I think that what is important is that we watch it and we pay attention to what these OTT platforms are doing and how they themselves can change our viewing experiences and enhance them and amplify them. I don't think it's so much of a competition as I think it is something that will be additive and something that we'll look for to understand how all of the players over time find their own space. The way I watch sporting events may be very different than the way that you choose to watch sporting events. And so there needs to be something for all of the different audiences. And then we talk a lot about storytelling. My assumption is that most of you in the room have a smart device and that you are using it. I know my 7-year-old daughter does. Using it on a daily basis, right, to tell stories. We're checking in. We're commenting on what we had for breakfast. We're telling people what we're doing at all hours of the day. We ourselves, as consumers and as fans, have become storytellers ourselves. So if we're telling stories and we're sharing those stories, we want the products and the properties and the brands that we follow and that we support to do the same thing. We want we want to be telling a story. We want to hear a story. And so I think a lot of it isn't just the story of what's happening on the field, it's what's happening off the field. It's kind of that behind the scenes stuff. And so we spend an incredible amount of time from a content production standpoint thinking about storytelling and what can we, some stuff, Coach Belichick would say, we're not telling that story, but what are the things that we can tell and how do we connect with people? And that really leads into the third one that I've identified, which is just authenticity, right? We're kind of tired of the try to sell me something and put your spin on it. We want things to be authentic. We want brands that feel real. We want brands that feel relevant. And we want to kind of cut through some of the clutter. And we want people to engage with us, or you want to be engaging with products and properties that you feel are authentic and feel really good. So these are just a couple of key things that I thought I would mention as sort of industry focuses, stuff that's talked about a lot, things that many of you, I'm sure, think about often, but I wanted to share those, and maybe we can talk about them after if you have questions on that. What I'd like to do now is jump into a bit of a case study. I mentioned that the Kraft Sports and Entertainment business is now in the esport business. And so for those of you that don't know what esport is essentially competitive video gaming. Anytime a video game competition is being played somewhere around the world, it is referred to as esport. Sitting on your computer at home playing one-on-one isn't necessarily esport. Esport is the act of a competitive environment. And so last April, I was asked to join the Kraft family in a meeting, and we were hosting the Activision Blizzard executives. And Activision Blizzard is a publisher of video games. They're based out in California, and they make a lot of really popular games, Call of Duty, Overwatch, etc. So we sat down, and they were pitching to our organization and our ownership group a franchise. They wanted us to be involved with the new and burgeoning Overwatch League. And so we had the meeting, and we talked about it, and I thought, that was a nice pitch, and this is interesting, but I did not foresee that it was something that we would want to get into. Invited back in June for a second meeting, and the meeting ended, and I was pretty much walked out thinking, okay, we own an Overwatch team. We are now in the esports space. And so what's happened over the last 15 months, and as a CMO, is really needing to launch a new brand, launch a new professional sports team. What's interesting is that right now the sports team that we own and operate is playing in California. They are not yet in the city of Boston. They are what it will be or is a global city-based league. There are now 20 teams in the league. There were not at the time. There were originally 7 when we first came on board, and we played this past season with 12. But we, at that time when we came on board, were the first team to publicly announce that we were going to be investor operators. And I think that what that did for the Overwatch League is it gave it credibility. I can't take credit for the success of the New England Patriots, the New England Revolution, but the Kraft family sure can. And they've done an incredible job of committing and investing and making really great decisions around being professional sports owner operators. And our success on the field has certainly helped, but I think that being the first team in a space that is a little bit unknown and unfamiliar and uncomfortable, in particular to maybe sponsors and the corporate world, having the Kraft family put their name on the Overwatch League from the get-go, I think was critically valuable. So I'm going to show a couple of key dates here. Just to talk through again a little bit about how things got started. So I mentioned those meetings in April and June. So in July, Activision Blizzard, that game publisher, basically announces that there are 7 cities that are going to be part of this league. I'll show you a video in just a minute that says that. We become the Boston City owner-operators, and there are 7 other cities at that time. Ultimately, there were 9 North American cities, 2 cities, Seoul and Shanghai, and then London. So it's global, and it's continuing to grow. In October, we announced our name. So we have to not only say we're coming into a league, we're joining a league, but we need a name. We need trademarks. We need logos. We need an identity. We needed to create all of that. And so I have a staff of people that are focused on the Patriots. We have people that are focused on the Revolution, folks that are focused on Gillette Stadium, and we're kind of like pulling everybody together and saying, jump on board on top of what you're doing already. Here's this new and exciting opportunity. And so we announced on the days between October 25th and 26th our branding. The league kicked off on January 10th of 2018 out at Blizzard Arena in California. We finished stage 3, which is a level of the season in Overwatch on May 4th. We finished that. We were undefeated for 10 games going into that stage, which obviously in an inaugural league hadn't happened, but it was quite an incredible run and something we're extremely proud of. We were projected at the beginning of the season with 12 teams in the league to probably finish 11th or 10th. We were an unknown team. We had unheralded players. No one really thought we knew anything about esport. They were probably right, but we made a really great hiring decision and brought a president on board who was really extraordinary at talent acquisition, and he built a team that performed really, really well. In late May, at the end, coming off of that undefeated stage, we brought the team to Boston. It was something that we had aspired to do when we launched the brand, in maybe November or December. But at the time, we were signing contracts. Players were flying in from across the globe. They were getting to know their teammates. They were training. They had never played together. And the season was kicking off in early January. And so we weren't able to do that in advance of that. So we brought them together. I'll show you some of the stuff we did in May around the city of Boston to welcome the team. We finished the season in 3rd place, which was an incredible success for us. And then the Overwatch League finals took place at the Barclays Center in New York City. It was essentially a sellout for them. Over the course of 2 days, they had over 22,000 fans attend the event. So here's a quick video to kick off.
Hey everyone, I'm Nate Nanzer. As commissioner of the Overwatch League, I know the community's been waiting a long time for an update, and no one has heard you louder than me. The team here at the Overwatch League office has been working tirelessly to make sure that when we share information about our professional teams, it will have been worth the wait. Well, that moment has arrived, and I wanted to deliver it to you personally. It's with great pleasure that we announced the first 7 city-based teams entering the Overwatch League. First, the city of Boston, whose home team belongs to Robert Kraft, chairman and CEO of the Kraft Group. Next up, Boston's traditional rival, New York, will continue its sports heritage under Jeff Wilpon. Rounding out the East Coast, Miami Orlando has been snapped up by Ben Spoot, CEO and co-founder of Misfits Gaming. Moving to the West Coast, San Francisco has been locked down by Andy Miller, chairman of NRG Esports. Take a plane an hour south, and Noah Winston, the CEO of Immortals, has secured Los Angeles. Across the Pacific, the city of Shanghai will have its own team under NetEase. And finally, what's a global esport league without South Korea? We welcome the city of Seoul and its team owner, Kevin Chu, the co-founder of Kabam, to represent the home and heart of competitive gaming worldwide. And this is only the beginning. We look forward to announcing more teams from across the globe in the future. All of us here have been deeply moved by your commitment to building up the competitive Overwatch ecosystem. The appetite to compete in Overwatch contenders in North America and Europe has blown us away, and we continue to see amazing competition in South Korea, China, and the Asia-Pacific region. Together with our new team owners, we are working towards launching the Overwatch League as the pinnacle of Overwatch esports, one that all aspiring players and audiences can celebrate, strive towards, and call their own. We are building this league to be worthy of your passion. Thank you for being a part of this, and be sure to stay up to date with everything Overwatch League at overwatchleague.com.
So I was curious, I actually probably should have asked a little while ago, how many people are aware of the Overwatch League? Okay. So that means we definitely still have some work to do. But I think what you saw there from Nate, who's the commissioner of the league, is really just a new entity, a video game publisher, right? This company doesn't know a lot about running a professional sports league, but they had a vision, they had an idea, and they partnered with some really incredible owner-operators and said, we want to see this vision through. We think that there can be a global city-based competitive team system that allows for franchises and owners. And so it's been exciting and a little bit crazy all at the same time. So this was the announcement when the Kraft family said that we were getting into the space, and I'll just read it real quick, but it says, we've been exploring the esports market for a number of years. We've been waiting for the right opportunity to enter. The incredible global success of Overwatch since its launch, coupled with the league's meticulous focus on a structure and strategy that clearly represents the future of esports, made this the obvious entry point for the Kraft Group. And so one of the things that we really liked about the Overwatch League was Activision Blizzard. I mean, they are a company that is well-founded, well-funded. They are best in class in game publishing. And they had, when Nate came in and spoke to us and met with us, I mean, his vision was clear. What he wanted to do and how he saw this developing and how quickly they have been able to stand up a league that didn't exist 15 months ago has been incredible. And they've done an amazing job of bringing on board executives from television networks and other sports leagues and really industry experts, marketing executives, to help them really figure out how to make this right. They've been incredibly insightful, incredibly aggressive, and really, really great listeners. We have felt, the Kraft Group has felt that it's a really good partnership, and they're listening to both the endemic teams that have been in esports for a long time, and the non-endemic teams like ourselves who are trying to figure it out. And there's a really nice hybrid and a nice blend of how we're pushing the league forward together. So on October 25th, we announced our name. We thought a lot about who we wanted to be. We knew for certain that we needed the name Boston in the name. It was a city-based team, and therefore the Overwatch League sort of dictated that to us. But that's fine, and we felt like being in the city of Boston made more sense for an esport team as opposed to being in Foxborough anyway. So knowing that we needed to anchor it on Boston, we thought a lot about other brands and other teams that we own, the Patriots, the Revolution. So we wanted something that sort of fit into the family of sports properties that we already had, but felt just different enough and maybe progressive as opposed to a little bit too historical. And the Uprising just felt right. It took a long time to figure out if that name was available and to have it trademarked in 6 countries. But once we got the green light, we were pretty excited about it. And then the logo itself, sort of that bee, the shielded bee, is something we felt, the bee is an iconic sports symbol in the city of Boston, right? When you see the Bruins marks, when you see the Red Sox marks, it kind of just says Boston sports to you. And so we thought it was pretty important that we tried, again, to be different enough and not copy what other sports teams had done or what they were doing, but for us to fit into the landscape, for us to be considered the next professional sports team in an already, very, very well, we have 5 professional sports teams. So how does this 6th team really now fit in? So this was our logo and our name, and the community, the eSport community, I think really resounded to it quite well. Our official press release, this just describes our logo. The Uprising will feature a global collection of talent that will represent Boston in esports competition and Blizzard's hit team-based game Overwatch against teams based in Asia, Europe, and North America. The name of the team was selected to represent the resilience of the region's revolutionary forefathers whose indomitable legacy laid the foundation for the great city of Boston. The Uprising colors will be blue, yellow, and black, with the blue and yellow tones representing the colors of the Boston's official flag. The team logo is a protective shield encompassing an emboldened letter B, which has become synonymous with the city and sports in Boston. So on October 26th, we announced our first 8 players that were playing for the Overwatch team. We had other acquisitions that came a little bit later, but by this time in October, we had 8 guys that were on planes from somewhere in the world, making their way to California to start training and sort of gelling and working as a team and getting to know one another for us to actually launch the league in January. Blizzard, Activision bought an old studio in Burbank, California, and they completely gutted it and renovated it, and they made it the home venue for all of Season 1 and what will be Season 2 for the Overwatch League. They knew, and I think were pretty insightful going into this, that it was going to take them time to build the league and to build the structure and to build the value that went along with it. So we knew going in that we would be playing in LA for the first couple of years. All of the owners knew that. And Activision and Blizzard, I think, did an incredible job of making a venue that was the perfect setting for the first couple of seasons. And so we'll continue to play here in 2019, and then all of the teams will move back to our home markets in 2020. On May 4th, as I mentioned earlier, we finished Stage 3. There are 4 stages to the Overwatch League season. They're a little bit like the competition that happens in baseball before the All-Star break. So 4 seasons. It was, for Season 1, a 40-game season. It's being reduced. It'll be a 28-game season going forward. I think one of the learnings, as I said, Blizzard being a great listener so far, they realized that 40 games was just too many. The schedule didn't work. As we start traveling across the world and needing to compete against one another, it was going to become impossible to have a calendar and a schedule at the competitive level that we want with that many games. And so adjustments have already been made for the 2nd season. But we were, as I said, fortunate to finish this stage of the league as undefeated.
When this roster was announced, a lot of question marks. Who are these guys? How are they going to gel together? pretty sure like everyone thought that the Boston roster would be hot doo-doo when it came out.
The question is, how well are they going to be able to communicate? It's a meshing together of all these diamonds in the rough that they're trying to put together.
And the Houston Outlaws will 4-0 Boston Uprising. 4-0 sweep for the New York XL over the Boston Uprising, who are left, well, still wondering what they need to change here.
Boston got shut out in both of those. Boston has yet to find their footing. Exactly where he is. He's going to win that. I cannot believe this tracer play I am seeing. Boston making it look easy.
Very quickly, a lot of people are changing their tunes. Just like, I was always a Boston fan, but you know.
Everyone's turned into a Boston fan now. We're in the second half of the season now. This is the time to go hard or go home. And for Boston Uprising, they will be wanting to end at least in the top 6. This team has the potential to go really far in stage 3. They got all
One of the casters just said that our team is likely to now finish top 6 in the league, where beginning of the year everyone said
for a little bit longer. Unbelievable! And Boston do rise up.
What a statement. Boston Uprising after everything they've endured.
This is a team that's really put in the effort.
Right now they are sitting at a 10-game win streak, which is ridiculously impressive when you look at their opponents.
They trust each other so much. When you talk about teams and a full team, you think of the Boston Uprising.
We are the Boston Uprising.
We are the Uprising. Believe in us.
So hopefully what you saw there from some of that video was really the competitiveness, right? I didn't know what to expect when we first got into esport, and I had never experienced it myself. I went to BlizzCon, which is the Activision Blizzard sort of gaming community's convention in Anaheim every year. So I went there last November in 2017, and I watched the Overwatch World Cup, which is an event that had previously been slated before the Overwatch League came into fruition. And I watched very young kids, but I watched athletes compete against one another in the same fashion that I see our professional football and our professional soccer players compete against one another. They practiced tirelessly. They had strategies that they needed to practice, to play the competition. The fans in the venues were incredibly animated and engaged and passionate, and they were cheering in the same way that the fans cheer for us at the Patriots and the Revolution games. And so when I saw that and experienced it kind of firsthand, I think I really realized, like, this is something. It's not something I've been part of yet, but it is something that I think I can absolutely appreciate and understand. And then the idea now is, how do we, as a very established professional sports league in traditional sports, help catapult a new league into this endeavor, and how do we help make a mark in the esports community? So the guys are obviously very emotional. You saw some of the players crying, but they are really young. I think that's probably one of the biggest differences in this, is that there hasn't been sort of a professional path, right? These individuals have played competitively, and they've been on teams, and they've traveled around the world in many cases, but they've never had an established competitive platform. There hasn't been, a college program. There hasn't been, you think of football in Texas, right, in high school. There was nothing for these young athletes to follow or to fall into that helped prepare them for being professional athletes at this level. And so I think a lot of what we're just even doing now is really trying to help the maturation of what is a very, very young professional athlete. You need to be 18 to play in the Overwatch League, but there are, we have sort of a contenders team, which is an up-and-coming team. But for the most part, these kids will age out around 23, 24 years old. So it is a young audience. It's something that we're maybe not as familiar with, and are learning and really trying to help cultivate that professionalism at what is becoming a younger and younger age. So we came off of that undefeated stage. We didn't win the final stage. Like, we finished the stage undefeated, and then there's like a playoff, which we unfortunately lost the last match of. But we put the guys on a plane the very next morning. They finished their game late at night, and then they were on a plane from LA to come to Boston, because, as I said before, one of the things that we hadn't had an opportunity to do was to introduce the team to the city and to the community and to the fans. So it's been pretty interesting owning and operating a professional sports team that plays on another coast, and time zone changes, and all of the various nuances of trying to start up a business when your staff isn't necessarily with you all of the time, and the athletes aren't there, and they're not as accessible as we might like or want them to be. So we brought them to Boston, and we did a series of things while they were in town. First, we told the community that they were coming, and people showed up at the airport, right? The team doesn't fly on a private charter like the New England Patriots do. So here we are, arriving at Logan Airport on a Monday night around 8 o'clock, and there are fans in their Boston Uprising gear waiting to greet the team. And that was really kind of an incredible moment. Kelsey was there, and I think just people were like, they felt important. They felt like they had arrived. And it was a really great way for us to welcome the community and the team together. So, we've got the team, we've got everybody in Boston. What do? You need to do the typical Boston sightseeing route, right? So we went on a duck boat tour. We took people to Pizzeria Regina. We went down to Faneuil Hall and stood in front of Cheers. And people were stopping, and they were signing autographs and handing out posters and stuff. And we were just trying to acclimate them to the city of Boston. I think one of the things that we try to do with our other teams is to make them part of the community, right? But they're living in the community, and they're working in the community, and their families have moved to the community, and in many cases their children are going to school in the community. That's not the case right now. These are young athletes, they don't have families, they're not necessarily married, and they're living in LA, and so Boston feels very distant to them and very removed, and so we're trying to acclimate them and get them familiar with our city and help them to represent our brand. We brought them to Gillette Stadium, right? They obviously needed to come and see the venue that we own and operate. In the upper left-hand corner, Robert and Jonathan Kraft greeted the team. We brought them into what we call the trophy room, which is where the 5 Super Bowl trophies are displayed and housed. They got to try on Super Bowl rings, and it was really cute. And I remember Robert saying to them, you need to get a ring of your own someday. So this was them really having the first exposure to. For some of them that are from the US, they know who the New England Patriots are, and they understand who Robert and Jonathan Kraft are. But for our players from Russia and our players from Korea, in many cases, they didn't know when we acquired them who their ownership group was. And so this was a really neat opportunity to introduce them to that. And then they're on the field. We've got Pat Patriot out there. They ran around and kicked soccer balls and threw footballs. And then we brought him into our television content studio, and we ran them through a gamut of, sort of media activities and stuff that we needed to generate and capture while they were in town. We then hosted a meet and greet at the Prudential Center. We wanted to go somewhere that had a lot of high visibility. We had about 450 people come out. We did an advanced registration, so we wanted to make sure that we were measured in terms of knowing how many people we could get through a fan meet and greet. So we had 600 people sign up, and we had 450 that actually attended that night. But being in the Prudential Center, we were at the Microsoft store, it was amazing how many people stopped and were talking to us and asking us questions, and most of whom had never heard of the Overwatch League or the Boston Uprising. But it was really just a great opportunity for us, again, to introduce our brand, introduce the team, and have the players feel as if they were important and that it mattered, and that being in the city of Boston was a city that would become very comfortable and familiar for them going forward. We did a media tour. Sports Hub 98.5 is the preeminent Boston sports talk radio station. They cover both the New England Patriots, the New England Revolution. And so we partnered with them and asked them if we could bring our athletes on, and they went into the morning show. And it was a very lively, very animated conversation. And a lot of it was really around just educating, the morning show hosts, which is fine. Rich, who's one of the hosts shown here, actually went from this time in May knowing absolutely nothing about Overwatch or eSport and kind of mimicking it a little bit and making fun of it, to being a guest of the Overwatch League at the grand finals in New York City at the Barclays Center in July. And he was Facebooking everybody and live tweeting from the event. And I'm not going to say we've made him an eSport fan, but he has come to have an appreciation for the sport. He brought his family, he witnessed it firsthand, he's met players, and I think that, that in a very traditional sports-minded city and a sports-minded talk show, to have that caliber of host just even talking about us and having us be part of the conversation is really critically important. And then the Gillette Company is obviously an incredible partner of the Kraft Group and the stadium and the Patriots and the Revolution. They're also one of our very first sponsors of the Boston Uprising. And so when the team was in the city, we made it a priority to go and visit the Gillette World headquarters. We brought the players there. We wanted them to see what the partners' venue looks like, and to really just get an understanding of who are these companies that are putting their dollars behind us and investing in us as teams, and having their brand associated with our brand to help, sort of create win-win opportunities. And so that's a picture of them at the Gillette headquarters. These are just some stats in terms of where we finished. I mentioned we finished 3rd in the league overall. This top 6 teams advanced to the playoffs and advanced to the playoffs. We were one of those. And then here's some images from the grand finals. As I said, the league spent a lot of time, I think, thinking about where to host the grand finals. Blizzard Arena was not an option. It's a 500-seat arena out in California. All of the matches had happened on the West Coast, and I think they really intelligently wanted to sort of shift to a different area of the country to host a match. And I think that probably most critical is they thought about where they could be to start to create a presence. They talked about, do we go to Las Vegas? Having an event in Las Vegas is a great destination, and it could be a really cool event, and there's so much entertainment happening all around you. But New York City is really where the media is, and where the agencies are, and where so many companies are based out of. And so I think the final decision really came down to, where is the Overwatch League going to have the most success in hosting a finals where they can also conduct business that is going to help them propel the league forward. So instead of going to Vegas and having a great event, which could have been fun and destination driven, they made a decision to go to New York, and I think it was incredibly smart. They hosted, in conjunction with the finals, a series of workshops and sponsor sessions. We the teams and owners attended some of those and sat in on the sessions with companies that they were pitching and companies that they had been talking to, and really just trying to help sort of grow this from the ground up. Like, we're in it together. It's, we're part of the Overwatch esport community now. And as I said before, the name of the Kraft Sports Group and the Kraft family carries an extraordinary amount of weight. And so I think being part of that and being part of that conversation has been critically important. And then as I said, the attendance, they were 22,000 over the course of 2 days. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the season itself was broadcast on Twitch. So that was the streaming platform for the entire season. About 10 days before the grand finals happened, Overwatch League announced that for the finals, the matches were going to be also broadcast, in some cases tape delayed, but also broadcast on Disney XD and ESPN. And I think all of a sudden, the world started to say, hang on a second, like, esports is something that you watch on a computer. You play it on a computer and you watch it. It's streamed on a computer. And the fact that a major network was willing to kind of lean in and step in and say, we're willing to cover this and we're willing to capture the grand finals, I think really spoke volumes to how far the league had come in a pretty incredibly short period of time. And here are just some images. I mean, from a fan experience standpoint, the Overwatch League and Blizzard Activision, man, they know how to throw a party. They certainly know how to entertain. I think one of the advantages that we have is that esport matches are shorter in time. It's not a 4.5-hour baseball game. It's not a 3.5-hour football game. It's really a 90-minute competition the way it's currently structured. But it is as intense as it can be when it is happening. And the fans are cheering and the teams are battling it out. And I think that these images here really show how great a presentation the Overwatch League did at these finals and really trying to pull the season together. So that is the end of my presentation. I think Annalise is going to come up. Okay.
Everybody, and thank you for coming today. My name is Annalise. I'm on the student planning committee for the conference, and I'm going to be moderating the Q&A. If you haven't submitted a question, you can do so on Slido. The directions are right up there. So our first question How do you see technology changing the stadium experience via things like augmented reality, in-game micro betting, and things like that? And how is Kraft positioning themselves to moderate these changes?
Yeah, so the question was how is technology sort of changing the fan experience in stadium, and sort of what is the Kraft Group doing to help propel that forward? So I think there's a couple things that we've done. Years ago, we made it a priority to put Wi-Fi into the stadium. It was something that not all of the venues had, and so for the last 6 or 7 years, we have worked diligently to introduce upgraded Wi-Fi systems all the time. I think augmented reality is an interesting one. I think augmented reality will work really, really well in a lot of ways, and maybe still needs to be refined in a couple of different ways as you think about the live viewing experience. I think for us, technology is as focused on making sure that whatever you as a consumer and fan want to do when you're in our building, you are able to do. So if you want to be uploading video or downloading video, if you want to be watching the other day at the game, the Patriots game, we streamed the Red Sox broadcast into our game day app so that people could watch both, right? We understand that there's a lot of second screen viewing, and that's what people are doing when they're at home. And so if you're doing it while you're at home, we need to make sure that we have the right technology that allows you to do it while you are in our venue and kind of on our time. So I think it's important to make sure that we are delivering things that people want and need today, and not going so far down a path of introducing sort of AR opportunities that maybe aren't necessarily something that the general consumer audience is ready for or wants. I think you asked about micro betting. That's something that is still a bit of a work in progress, especially in the state of Massachusetts. But I do think that you will start to see, now that betting the category has sort of opened itself up, I think you'll just start to see more engagement. I think you'll start to see fans in the stadiums that are doing what they had traditionally been doing anyway, but in acting and engaging when they're in our venue and on our property.
Great. So how is revenue being generated to run the Uprising organization? You talked a lot about that. Are you guys securing different sponsorships for that?
So how is revenue being generated to support the Boston Uprising? I think right now we have a long-term vision for the Uprising in esports. I think any startup, when we got into Major League Soccer 21 years ago, and now being in the esports space, I think revenue is something that sort of trails along. I don't think if we or any of the teams got into this thinking that we would be writing ourselves checks the first couple years, I think we would have been a little bit misguided. The league is working extremely hard and has over-indexed on their projections for season 1 in terms of sponsorship. Right out of the gate, they did some great deals with HP and Intel, which are endemic sort of gaming brands that were in the $40 million range. They did the streaming platform deal with Twitch, which was a 2-year deal worth about $90 million. And then they've done some other deals with Toyota and Sour Patch Kids that have been more non-traditional esport partners. And so I think right now the revenue for the Boston Uprising, we are approaching companies that we know, companies that we do business with, and companies we've never met. So I think as importantly for us, it's an opportunity to not just talk to the same people that are already part of the Kraft Sports and Entertainment community and think about people that we only have sponsorships for. It's opening the door to a whole nother group of categories and industries that maybe are not as targeted or not as relevant for football and soccer, but will become very, very relevant for esport and the Uprising. So I'd say it's a continuous process, and revenues are kind of shifting and coming in as they do, but we're not hyper-focused on revenue generation driving the business right now, because it simply isn't.
So another question is, we see a lot about sustainability coming into the SEAM conference or into the SEAM industry. How does sustainability and green initiatives play into your role in venues marketing, and do you have a corporate sustainability policy at Kraft?
So the question was around sustainability and kind of any policies that we have in the Kraft Group or at the stadium, and green initiatives. I think we've done a number of things from the time Gillette Stadium was built. We we literally like moved a river in order to be able to build the stadium where we needed to build it. We have a ton of recycling initiatives on game days. We've gone so far as a couple weeks ago, we introduced, in the office a whole new recycling program. We've given our employees water bottles so that they aren't using paper cups every day. And so I think a lot of it is really around, and I'm probably not, my COO would know likely a lot more than I do, but it's really around sort of figuring out what we can do and how we do it. We have solar panels throughout the entire Patriot Place property on all of the buildings. When we built Patriot Place, one of the things that we really wanted to do was bring down energy costs, and so we've done a ton of stuff there. We do a ton of recycling, and that's probably the most I can talk through.
That's still great, thank you. And for our last question, what's your biggest challenge in your role that you've had so far, and how have you worked to overcome those challenges?
So biggest challenge in my role so far, and what have I done to overcome those challenges? I think I'm gonna give two answers. One is, it's really interesting working for a family-owned and operated business. It is fascinating to see how well the Kraft family works together and how sort of guided they are in their mission. And yet it's a family-owned business, and sometimes it can be really, really, really tricky. I think some of the challenges for me in sort of my role or my path have really been around when do I redirect my attention and focus on something that might not be going the way that I see it needing to go, and then when do I need to stay in my lane? I was talking to Liz earlier, and I think one of the things as the marketer, everything that happens on an operational level has an outcome that affects the customer experience and the fan experience, which I'm responsible for. So I'm not responsible for parking, I'm not responsible for food and beverage, I'm not responsible for security. Those fall under our COO. Yet if those things don't go well, and if those points of entry and sort of touch points, customer touch points, aren't paid attention to, the customer experience can become very, unengaging. And so I think a lot of times it's really figuring out when do I lean in enough there without being intrusive or overbearing, or getting too far out of my lane and not paying enough attention to what we need to be doing from the fan experience standpoint, but making sure that we are blending those together so that we are both delivering a great operational experience, which then ultimately delivers a great fan experience.
All right, thank you. So that's the completion of the Q&A session. Thank you so much for speaking. It was an honor having you here, and we'd like to give you this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sure. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to take help. You're welcome.
Wow, what a remarkable opening. And certainly when you talk about timeliness, esports is something that we've been discussing in our curriculum for a couple of years now, right, Professor Daly? So thank you. That was a really wonderful way to open this conference. So I do just want to say a few quick words. I know our high school students have to head out for their tour of campus, and I know our IAVM constituents. I've been asked to instruct you to meet outside of Schneider Auditorium for your next stage in your programming for the day. Meanwhile, the rest of you, please stay seated. Our professional panel is going to begin in a few minutes, which will be moderated by Professor Polano. Thanks very much.
All right. Who's ready for another shirt? Come on, I want to hear you make some noise. All right, right there. I heard you all the way back there. Let's see if I get you. Oh, close. All right. Let's see. Let's give one more out there. Let's see. How about this side over here? Anybody over here? All right. How about on this side? Which side is louder? Is this side? Let me hear you on this side. All right. All right. How about this side? I hear one. All right. We're going over there. Here we go. Oh, heads up. There we go. All right.